Hello and welcome to another episode of Casting Pods. My name is Blaine Shields, and I thought, looking at the world today, looking at the things that are going on, looking at all the tragedy and the hurt and the anger and the animosity and all the hate that's being spewed out, one thing that we definitely could use is a little bit of laughter. So I thought today I would go ahead and have some comedy, a little bit of jokes, something to make people go ha 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 and smile. Because you know what? They say laughter is the best medicine, and if that is true, we need some heavy doses right now. So, without further ado, I give you some jokes. The Prison Jokester. A young man is sentenced to 15 years in prison. The warden takes a liking to him and puts him in a cell with a kindly old-timer so that he can be shown the ropes and not get himself into trouble. So the old-timer teaches the youngster the rules of the prison, what to do, what not to do, stuff like that. All of these rules he learns. There is no talking during meals. Curious things happen during the meal, though, and the man finds himself a bit confused. In the large mess hall, once everyone's seated, one of the prisoners stands up and loudly says, 47! Everyone in the hall laughs hysterically. A few minutes later, another prisoner stands up and loudly says, 19! Again, a torrent of laughter from everyone. This goes on and on throughout the meal. Later, when the youngster and the old-timer get back to their cell, the young man asks, what was going on in the mess hall tonight? I thought you said there was no talking allowed. Ah, yes, the mess hall. Well, years ago, the warden eased up on the rules a bit. The one that disallows for talking at meals. You see, all of us inmates have memorized a long list of jokes and stories by the number, so that all one has to do is call out the number, and because we have all the stories memorized, it's like someone told the whole funny story. The young inmate nods understandingly and falls off to sleep. After a few weeks of the Milltown behavior, this young man gets up a bit of nerve and decides to tell a story. So one evening at the dinner menu, he stands up loudly and says, 26! No one laughs, not even a twitter, so he again tries. 26! Still nothing. He sits down sheepishly and embarrassed. Later, he pleads with the old-timer to explain what happened. That's such a good story, number 26. How come no one laughed? The old man turned to him and explained. It's the way you told it. Profane Polly. A man goes to the pet store in order to buy himself an exotic bird. He tells the clerk, I've had a number of pets in my life, and I'm looking for something really special. Have you anything I might like? Yes, sir, I do. I have a South American parrot, rumored to have a vocabulary of over 400 words. He can talk about the weather, about sports, about politics. I might add, though, he is quite expensive. Well, he sounds just perfect. Why don't you bring him out, then? The clerk goes to the back room and brings out this exquisite green bird with bright feathers, a dark golden beak. He sets the bird on a perch and excuses himself to take care of another customer in another part of the shop. The man looks at the bird and starts talking to it in the usual way. Pretty bird, Polly want a cracker? The bird replies in such beautiful English the man can hardly believe his ears. They have a conversation about the recent rains. They talk about the latest bills in Congress, and even talk about the latest Super Bowl. The man is dumbfounded. I'll take him, he calls to the clerk. Take him home with me today. Good, sir, said the clerk. They conclude the transaction, and the man walks out with the parrot on his shoulder. As soon as they get to the man's home, the bird goes into a loud tirade of profanity, one four-letter word after another. On and on without end. The man can't believe it. Look, bird, you didn't do any of this in the shop. I have guests coming over tonight. Don't you dare embarrass me with this kind of profanity. The bird continues on and on with the profane cursing. The man gets fed up and throws the parrot in the freezer. With that, he may quiet down, he thinks. Sure enough, within a few minutes, the bird has gone completely silent. The man opens the freezer and takes the bird out. The bird takes a deep bow. Forgive me, sir. I will never talk like that again. I just don't know what came over me. The man is satisfied with the motions for the bird, and he motions the bird to perch on his shoulder, and the man goes about his business. A few minutes later, the bird leans over into his ear and says quietly, Can I ask you a question? Well, sure, what is it? What exactly did the chicken do? Working in the dark. A doctor of psychology was doing his normal morning rounds when he entered a patient's room. He found patient number 1 sitting on the floor pretending to saw a piece of wood in half. Patient number 2 was hanging from the ceiling by his feet. The doctor asked patient number 1 what he was doing. The patient replied, Can't you see? I'm sawing this piece of wood in half. The doctor asked patient 1 what patient number 2 was doing. Patient number 1 replied, Oh, he's my friend. He's a little crazy, but he thinks he's a light bulb. The doctor looked up and noticed patient number 2's face is all red. The doctor asked patient number 1, if he's your friend, don't you think you should get him down before he hurts himself? Patient number 1 replies, What? And work in the dark? And finally, ticket excuses. A man was driving home late one afternoon and he was driving above the speed limit. He noticed a police car with its red light on in the rearview mirror. He thinks, I can outrun this guy. So he floors it and the race is on. The cars are racing down the highway 60, 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. Finally, as his speedometer passes 100, the guy figures he can't outrun this cop and he gives up. He pulls over to the curb. Police officer gets out of his cruiser and approaches the car. He leans down and he says, Listen, mister, I've had a really lousy day. I just want to go home. Give me a good excuse and I'll let you go. The man thought about it for a moment. He said, 3 weeks ago, my wife ran off with a police officer. When I saw your cruiser in my rearview mirror, I thought that you were that officer trying to give her back. And with that, you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and remember, smile and laugh. Take care.